more than 20 books. Most of these books are prescribed as textbook by the boards of studies for the undergraduate courses in various universities and autonomous colleges throughout Tamil Nadu, India. He has successfully completed 6 projects. He has organized more than 25 national and international seminar bar conferences, in which almost all of us would have participated. He has delivered over 350 invited talks, guest lecturers across the globe. He has been conferred Lifetime Achievement Award by GATR Malaysia during the closing ceremony of 4th Global Conference on Business and Social Sciences held at Dubai during November 14-15, 2016. Experts from USA, South Africa, and Finland are engaged in identifying founders of graph theory country-wise. In the tentative list, Professor Arumugam is included as a founder of graph theory in India. He has served as a referee for research papers in several national and international journals. He is an editor-in-chief of AKC International Journal of Graphs and Combinatory. With these few words of introduction, let me invite you, sir, for handling the session.
Thank you very much. Let's first see whether my screen is getting shared.
No, sir. I think you have to start
Now?
sharing again.
Again?
Yeah, it has not come yet.
Let me see. What is happening? We'll start again.
It has not even started sharing, sir. So I think.
So it's present now. Okay.
Yeah.
A window or screen?
Yeah.
Window? Window?
Then you click that share, sir. Share.
Sir, you please send your entire screen. That will be better.
Entire screen?
Yeah. It's not working. Do you have to stop recording?
Sir, you have to click on that. Where you see that tiny picture, you click on that, sir. Entire screen, the picture on top, please click on it. And then click share.
Yes,
Is
sir.
it okay?
It's working.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
It's
sir.
coming.
Fine. That's good. So I'm very happy to be a part of this workshop on a focused topic, namely domination in graphs. Let me start with a positive note. During May 27 to May 31, 2021, about 1 month back, we had a faculty development program organized at Ramanujan College in Delhi, jointly with ADMA. The topics were domination and labelings, for two topics. I delivered 2 talks and invited participants to contact me for further details. Surprisingly, 6 people came forward to work with me on some topics of interest. And one of them is a first year MSc student from Delhi University. I was very surprised. I interacted with that candidate and I found that she has a good background in data analytics, but has undergone only a small bit of graph theory course as a part of discrete mathematics in the undergraduate program. But she has tremendous interest in research and I have motivated her towards it. Possibly before he completes her first MSc program, she will come out with a research paper. One more candidate research scholar contacted me and started working. And I'm happy to say that we are in the process of finalizing 2 research papers with him. This collaboration emerged from that workshop. Okay. And in the acknowledgement of the paper, I have already inserted that this collaboration emerged from the workshop organized by Ramanujan College during such and such a date. And we are thankful to the coordinators and the principal for organizing such an event. With that acknowledgement, we are completing 2 papers now, and I expect that the 2 papers will be communicated in the next 2 weeks' time. So expect that similar nice things will happen during this workshop, and wish all the best for the participants and the organizers so that the program is really a success. Okay. So my plan is I am going to present to you 7 topics in the topic in domination. Each topic will be for one PhD thesis. That's how I am planning. So I am focusing on 7 topics. Some of them you might have listened earlier, doesn't matter. So each topic is sufficient for writing one full PhD thesis. Sometimes even more than one PhD thesis can come up. Okay. So with this, let me start. The first topic is on Nardas-Gardam type results. There's an excellent survey paper published in Discrete Applied Mathematics in 2013, which gives a complete survey of Nardas-Gardam type results.
Excuse me, sir. Are you presenting your slides now?
Yes.
But it's not visible, sir. So I think you have to click that slides again. Your screen is presented, but slides are not presented.
So I'll start presenting again.
Yeah, sir. It will be nice.
Present. I'm presenting the screen.
Yes.
Now I will.
Then you select that slides and you click on that, sir. But I think now the screen has not shared, sir. So first you share the screen and then. Yeah, sir, it's coming. Now the screen has been shared. Yeah, sir, it has come. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Now it has come.
So we have an excellent survey paper on Nardas-Gardam type results published in Discrete Applied Mathematics in 2013, which runs to about 80 pages. So anything in Nardas-Gardam type we can get from this source. Okay. So first Nardas-Gardam type result on domination parameter comes from the paper published in 1976. It says that the sum of the domination number of a graph and its complement is bounded above by n plus 1 and bounded below by 2. And the product is between 1 and n. Okay. So this is the first Nardas-Gardam type result for domination. Okay. Now, for the upper bound, equality happens if and only if the graph is complete. This can be proved very easily because suppose gamma plus gamma bar is n plus 1. There's a famous result due to Orr which says that if a graph has no isolated vertices, gamma less than or equal to n by 2. Okay. It's a fundamental result in domination by Orr. So if G and G bar have do not have isolated vertices, gamma will be less than or equal to n by 2, gamma G bar will be less than or equal to n by 2, therefore sum will be less than or equal to n, which is a contradiction. Therefore, either G or G bar will have an isolated vertex. Let us assume G bar has an isolated vertex. Then G has a full degree vertex. So gamma becomes 1. Therefore, gamma G bar becomes n. Therefore, G bar becomes Kn bar, and therefore G becomes Kn. So you see that gamma plus gamma bar is n plus 1 if and only if it is complete graph. So for all other graphs, the bound must be much better. Okay. So for my second PhD student, I asked him the question. Assume that G and G bar have no isolated vertices. Can you improve the Navier-Stokes type bound? Okay. Assume that G and G bar have no isolated vertices. Can the bound be improved? Okay. So in the book on Fundamentals of Domination Graph Theory by Haynes, Redknapp and Slater, in page 239, you find this statement that using a simple, elegant proof technique, Joseph and Armugam obtained an upper bound on the sum of gamma G and gamma B bar, which considerably improved the bound for general graph. The bound for general graph is n plus 1. So I gave the problem to my student, Joseph, and he came with a substantially improved bound, which says, if G and G bar have no isolated vertices, gamma plus gamma bar less than or equal to n by 2 plus 2. You see the improvement. From n plus 1, we have come down to n by 2 plus 2. With a small additional hypothesis that G and G bar have no isolated vertices. So bound jumped by 50%. Okay, from n plus 1 to n by 2. Okay. So this was published in 1995. When I looked at this little carefully, see when the bound is attained. Surprisingly, the bound is attained for K3, Cartesian K3, and for graphs with n by 2, gamma n by 2. So it splits as n by 2 to or K3 Cartesian K3. So the complete characterization of graphs attaining the bound also came up. Fine. Now, if I look back, G and G bar have isolated vertices, which means delta is greater than or equal to 1, and delta bar is also greater than or equal to 1. Okay. So in one of the meetings, I proposed a problem. Suppose you assume delta greater than or equal to 2 and delta bar greater than or equal to 2. Will the bound further improve? Okay. So things came up in that direction, and if both delta and delta bar are bigger than or equal to 2, it came as 2n by 5 plus 3 with some exemptions. Once you disallow the exemptions, it comes down to when delta and delta bar are bigger than or equal to 2, gamma G plus gamma G bar is less than or equal to 2n by 5 plus 2. See, it was originally n plus 1, then it came to n by 2 plus 2, now it has come 2n by 5 plus 2. That is 40% of the vertices, right? 2n by 5 plus 2. The people worked further. Suppose delta and delta bar are bigger than or equal to 3. Will it still improve? Okay. So Walkman proved that if delta and delta bar are both greater than or equal to 3, and that K3 Cartesian K3 is exempted, then the bound comes to 3n by 8 plus 2. It is slowly coming up, n by 2, 3n by 5, now 3n by 8 plus 2. If both delta and delta bar are bigger than or equal to 4, it's 3n by 8 plus 2. Still further, Walkman again proved if both of them are greater than or equal to 4, it is 4n by 11 plus 2. But exception is that 10, 13, and 16. They are to be exempted. That order gives problem. So if greater than or equal to 4, it is 4n by 11 plus 2. Then Walkman continued further. If both of them are greater than or equal to 5, it is 5n by 14 plus 2. And if both of them are greater than or equal to 6, it is 6n by 17 plus 2. So you see, this went on improving. The bound gamma G plus gamma bar, the upper bound, kept on increasing depending on the minimum degree of the graphs under consideration. So I looked at all these things and came up with a conjecture. If G is a connected graph of order n, with some exceptions we have to see, with both delta and delta bar bigger than or equal to k, then gamma g plus gamma g bar is less than or equal to floor of kn by 3k minus 1 plus 2. If you put k equal to 1, my theorem will come as a corollary. K equal to 1 means n by 2. K equal to 2 means 2n by 5. So this includes all the 6 theorems presented earlier as corollaries. I strongly believe that this conjecture is going to be true. Perhaps even the plus 2 may be improved, I am looking at. So this is the first interesting conjecture which includes all the known theorems so far as corollaries. Okay, fine. Now I looked at the multiplicative version. It seemed to be more interesting for me. See, multiplicative version says the product of the domination number of gamma and the complement is at most n, which means for any graph of order n, either G or the G bar will satisfy the inequality that the gamma is less than or equal to floor of root of n. See, the known bound for domination number for graph with without isolates is n by 2. That's the Wor's theorem. But I am observing that for more than 50% of the graphs, we are going to have much, much stronger bound. Namely, gamma is less than or equal to floor of root n. 50% of the graphs will satisfy this bound. So I have almost completed characterizing graphs with gamma equal to root n. Gamma equal to floor of root n. Almost towards completion, except a small gap present in one of the cases. Okay, I have general construction. Take any graph of order k. Choose k graphs, arbitrary graphs, whose total order is k square minus k, and take the generalized corona. That means ith vertex of H is joined with all the vertices of Hi. It is generalized corona. It has k square vertices and gamma equal to k. That is gamma equal to root n comes in. So this is the bounding block on which I built the theory, and I have almost characterized all graphs with gamma equal to root n. A very strong theorem. It will be going to be very fundamental. The advantage is, once you have this characterization, I can go back and take graph with gamma equal to root n and try to say gamma g plus gamma b are less than equal to root n plus something. So you see, I will go up, I will go back to gamma g plus gamma g bar. Instead of n by 2 or 2n by 5 or 3n by 11, I take root n plus something. So the whole theory will revisit. Okay, the whole theory will revisit and try to prove gamma plus gamma bar less than or equal to root n plus something for some classes of graphs. Then start improving that bound. Once you succeed for gamma, you can go for gamma total domination, connected domination, and independent domination. All those things are open. So I hope this improving the existing Northern type results for domination parameter using this strong upper bound will be an excellent topic for research. It will be a fundamental contribution in the subject. Because you see, gamma less than or equal to n by 2 for graph without isolated vertices is a fundamental theorem of War. And this is substantially improving that theorem of War. From n by 2, we are traveling to root n. So this will be a fundamental contribution to the subject and will open up substantial improved theorems on this topic. So this is the first topic that I propose, which can be an excellent topic for one full PhD thesis on domination-related parameters and improving the existing Northern type results. Okay, because this bound, which I have got, works for total and connected also, surprisingly. For total and connected domination also, the bound comes very close to root n with the improved thing for some classes. So there's a tremendous scope for work on this topic. So this is the first topic that I wanted to present. Now let me stop for a few minutes. We can discuss on this topic before moving to the next topic. Any comments or suggestions, or anyone interested in this? Let us have some small discussion. Instead of keeping the discussion to the end, I thought I will have discussion at the end of each topic. Okay? So open for discussion now.
Sir, if
Okay.
G is planar,
Yeah.
that puts upper bound for the minimum degree as 5.
Ah.
So if you concentrate on planar graphs, can you say something more? Because all other cases doesn't exist.
Okay.
Only up to 5 we can do.
Okay. Okay. So, but delta greater than or equal to 6, it will be non-planar. So, up to 5, you can concentrate only on planar graphs.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I don't know how planarity influences domination. We have to see.
Exactly.
It's a big question. It's a question. So, up to delta equal to 5, concentrate on planar graphs alone. Okay,
Yes.
that's a good suggestion. Fine. Fine. And see for the case up to 6, up to 5, the extremal graphs are not still very clear. Which graphs actually reached upper bound is not very clear.
I see.
If we go back, see, they are only saying something like it splits us 3n by 5, 8 and 2. That's all. Which graphs actually attain the bound is still not very clear. So perhaps for planar graph, it may work well. Fine. Good.
And you said something about the product. What is that, sir?
The product,
Get
the
a box.
bound is n. The bound is n. It happens only for kn, 1 and n.
No, sir. Cartesian product. A3 box.
Yeah, that is the only graph that goes away for my bound n by 2 plus 2. I got the bound n by 2 plus 2. It splits as n by 2 and 2 except for K3, Cartesian K3. That alone splits as 4 to 3, 3.
Okay.
That's the thing. That comes as an exceptional graph for the extremal graph. Yeah. So this is a new bound which I am proposing. I hope it will pick up very soon. Okay. Any other comments, or we move to the second topic?
Yes, sir. I think we can move.
Okay. The second topic is much more interesting. I'm considering a very fundamental problem. See, if G is a connected graph and H is a connected induced subgraph, gamma can go up or come down or remain the same. See, if you take complete graph, induced graph is again complete, gamma remains same. If you take a wheel, gamma is 1. Take the rim alone, it's an induced subgraph, and gamma goes up in a big way to n minus 1 by 3. Here it comes down. For path, it comes down. Okay, it can come down to any number. I can make the path smaller. So you see, if G is a connected graph and H is a connected induced subgraph, then gamma H can be equal to gamma G, or greater than gamma G, or less than gamma G. Okay. Fine. And I am interested in finding some necessary conditions or sufficient conditions for all the three cases. Under what conditions a connected induced subgraph will have this property? One of the properties. I am putting connected induced subgraph just to make the problem non-trivial. Because if you don't take induced, it will be very erratic. If you don't assume connected, I can put simply independent sets or clicks and bring it down. Okay. So I am concentrating on the graph is connected, the induced subgraph is also connected, and check under what conditions gamma is going to be remaining the same, or go up or come down. Okay. There are graphs where all three.
Sorry,
Yes.
sorry, sir.
Yeah.
In the earlier case, G and G bar, there is a series of papers by Jin, Akiyama, and Ando.
Okay.
Maybe sometime in 90s, where they have talked about
Ah.
properties common to a graph and its complement.
Okay.
I think there are some 10 papers in this series.
Okay. Fine.
So,
Fine.
will the information from that paper help us to work more on delta and delta bar having the same number?
Maybe. Let us see. It may work. Let me look into those papers then first.
Okay.
Okay.
Another thing, sir, here,
Ah.
you want gamma h less than gamma g, that's all. So, when you are having an induced subgraph, how much less it could be?
That can come down to even to 1. It's not a problem. A single edge is an induced subgraph.
That's true.
Okay, that's not a problem. Coming down is not difficult. Going up is more difficult.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, this is a fundamental problem. I'll let you see. All the three types can sit in single graph. Okay. For example, for the graphs like complete graph, complete bipartite graph, paths and cycles, for all connected graphs, it is coming down. Okay. And then for this graph, I have all three types. I assume gamma G1 is bigger than or equal to 3. So domination number is 2, U and V. G1 is an induced subgraph where gamma goes up. If you take the path like this, gamma will be remaining same, something like G1 plus U, gamma comes down. For G1, goes up. For the path, it is equal. So this contains all three types of induced subgraphs. One induced subgraph going up, another induced subgraph coming down, another remaining same. So which graphs contain all three types of connected induced subgraphs seems very interesting problem. Which graphs contains all three types of connected induced subgraphs with respect to gamma. Okay, I have got an infinite family of graphs here where all three types of things are present, but gamma is 2. That's a drawback in this example. Okay. Then, to handle this problem, I have introduced some new concepts called gamma free set, totally gamma free set, and gamma fixed set. It all came from the terminology used by Sambat Kumar in an earlier paper. So take a connected graph and take a subset of V. I say S is a gamma free set if there is at least one gamma set whose intersection with this is empty. The set is gamma free, that is, the term is clear. There is at least one gamma set whose intersection with this is empty, then we call that just gamma free set. When gamma totally free, every gamma set is disjoint from S. Okay, if every gamma set is disjoint from S, then S is totally gamma free. And it is gamma fixed if every gamma set intersects S. So subsets I classify into gamma free set, gamma totally free set, and gamma fixed set. See, gamma free is a hereditary property. If a set is gamma free, obviously subset is gamma free. Totally gamma free is also a hereditary property. And gamma fixed is a super hereditary property. So you'll go for minimal and maximal gamma free sets and go for the parameters. So I get 6 new parameters. Gamma free number, upper gamma free number, total gamma free number, upper totally gamma free number, gamma fixed number, and upper gamma fixed number. Okay? That is, gamma free number is minimum cardinality of a maximal gamma free set. And maximum cardinality of a maximal gamma free set is upper gamma free number. So I have gamma free number, upper gamma free number, and similarly totally gamma free number, and so on. Then I can further impose the induced graph is connected. Then I have connected gamma free number, but that is neither hereditary nor super hereditary. So I have connected gamma free number, and connected gamma totally free number, and connected gamma fixed number. So I have 9 new parameters related to domination, completely unexplored 9 new parameters. Why I have introduced it is because it is going to help us handle for some problem. So I'll go to one more problem like this. It's a chessboard domination problem. You may think I am having disconnected topics, but I'll put them together. You take the n squared cells of a chessboard, and I choose queen as the chessboard piece, and 2 cells are adjacent if the queen at U can move to V in a single move. And what's the minimum number of queens needed to cover the entire board? That's called the queen's number. So the board is QUN, and the minimum number of queens to cover the entire board is the domination number of the queen's graph. So gamma of QUN is the minimum number of queens to be placed on an n cross n chessboard to cover the entire chessboard. Okay. Surprisingly, is this function monotonic, non-decreasing? Is gamma QN less than or equal to gamma Q of n plus 1? This is stated as a problem in Haynes Hereditary Slater domination graph advanced topics in page 157. Is the function gamma Qn monotonic, non-decreasing? Okay. And Hereditary says that the problem dates back to 1850s. It looks to be obviously true, but no proof is found. And yes, announced a price of $100 for solving the problem. It looks trivial, but remains unsolved for more than 170 years. Okay, is gamma Qn non-decreasing or not? Okay. Now I'm going to put all these 3 things together. I'll knot them together. See, QUN is a connected induced subgraph of QUN plus 1. Okay, you have n cross n board and n plus 1 cross n plus 1 board. So n cross n board graph is obviously an induced subgraph of the n plus 1 cross n plus 1 board. So QUN is an induced subgraph of QUN plus 1. Connected induced subgraph. So it's actually this is a particular case of my general problem. See, I have put the general problem here. Okay. A particular case of the problem. The queen's problem is a particular case of this problem. Under what conditions gamma will not go up? That's a question. Okay. So this is a particular case of the induced subgraph problem. Secondly, suppose you take QU n plus 1 cross n plus 1 chessboard and n cross n chessboard. Number of new vertices is 2n plus 1. A new row and a new column, border. You look at the border row and the border column. You have 2n plus 1 vertices. Call that set as S. So S is actually vertex set of QUN plus 1 minus vertex set of QUN. It is of order 2n plus 1. Okay. So you look at that set of vertices. It has 2n plus 1 vertices. Okay. Now, suppose you have proved that 2n plus 1 vertices, that set is gamma free set of QN plus 1. suppose this S is a gamma free set of QUn plus 1. What does it mean? A gamma set of QUn plus 1 is sitting inside gamma QUn. Okay? A gamma set of QUn plus 1 is sitting inside QUn, which means gamma QUn is less than or equal to gamma QN plus 1, which means the 170-year-old problem is getting solved. So I believe that the gamma free concept will be a tool to crack this big problem. So gamma freeness seems to be a handle to tackle this problem. Okay. So I have a fundamental problem, that is how gamma behaves for connected induced subgraphs, and 9 parameters to handle this problem, and that may perhaps solve a 170-year-old problem with gamma free concept as a tool to solve the problem. So this is a fundamental topic where there's tremendous scope for work. I already gave this problem to a scholar, and the 9 parameters which I have given itself will be interesting to investigate. I have made substantial progress in the first 2 parameters. I have proved that the first 2 parameters are always equal, and they are equal to n minus gamma. But a lot of things remain open. So this is a topic which is fundamental in nature, and we may become famous by solving a big problem. So this is the second major topic that I am posing. This is for one full PhD thesis. Again, once we succeed for gamma, the same questions will be addressed for several other parameters, because the concept of freeness, free, totally free and fixed, seems to be a very, very rich concept for investigation. So this is my major second topic for a full-fledged doctoral thesis. Okay. So there are a lot of openings. The screen graph itself is very interesting. Up to some number, up to some 200 plus n, they have proved that the number is one of the 2 integers. But which is actually the integer, they are not able to conclude. They are mostly depending on computer sets for solving this problem. But if you can prove this problem analytically, this will automatically tell you that gamma qn plus 1 is either gamma qn or gamma qn plus 1. See, once this problem is settled, gamma qun plus 1 will be either gamma qun or gamma qn plus 1, because the corner square is the new vertex that will take care of the new vertices. So it will not jump by more than 1. What they have proved using computer up to 200, I can put in single theorem that it will never jump by more than 1, if this conjecture is proved. That's why I believe that this will be a fundamental breakthrough in the subject if you look at this problem. So now we can discuss on this for a few minutes. So I have 9 parameters and 2 strong problems for investigation.
Participants?
Yeah.
No, I'm just asking anyone has any queries or suggestions or. Yeah, sir. Yeah, Priyanka, you can go on. Priyanka has raised her hand.
Hello, sir. Namaste, sir.
Yeah.
Namaste, sir. Very nice to see you again, sir. Sir, myself, Priyanka from Karnataka University, sir.
Yeah.
I'm having some queries on this graph domination, sir. Shall we correlate domination theory with graph leveling, sir?
You want to?
Can we correlate a domination number with graph labeling, sir?
Yes, I have one theorem that I presented in Ramanujan College, where
Sir.
there's a magic type labeling,
Yes, sir.
and for a magic labeling, there's a magic constant,
Yes, sir.
and I have proved that that magic constant can be derived from domination number.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Can we do extremal graphs, sir, for labeling?
Labeling is completely different thing to look at. We should discuss about labeling.
Sir. Extremal graphs. Can we do extremal graphs with labeling, sir?
The labeling doesn't do with extremal cases. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay.
So I have a request to the participants. Please restrict the questions to that particular theme.
Right.
We will ask all general questions towards the end of the talk.
Right.
Otherwise, the attention will be deviating.
Yeah, that's right.
It's now asked only on problem 2 that Professor Armugam has mentioned about the
Yes.
field domination.
Yes, sir. Participants, please take care of that point which Juma sir has raised now. Armugam sir has given time for discussing on the specific topic he was delivering. So please make sure that we are sticking on to that, and final general discussion we can have at the end of the session. Thank you. Anyone else has anything based on this Queen's problem? Sir, shall we continue then, sir? I think.
Sure. Fine. Now, the third topic that I am dealing with is on secure domination, which most of you are working now. See, what's a secure domination? You take a graph G and a dominating set. Assume that guards are present on the vertices of the dominating set. Okay, guards are present on the vertices of the dominating set. If a problem occurs outside a vertex of the dominating set, a guard who is adjacent will move down to safeguard that vertex. When the guard moves down, the set D is changing. One vertex is removed from the dominating set and one vertex is entering in the dominating set. If this new set is also a dominating set, then the D is called a secure dominating set. That is, in a secure dominating set, any vertex outside the dominating set can be defended by one soldier present in the dominating set. The guard can come down, move down. Okay, so guards moving down along the edge to safeguard a vertex which is attacked. That is the concept of secure domination. It's a moving guards problem. Okay. Now, what happens if simultaneously multiple attacks are taking place? Can we manage the problem? Suppose 3 attacks are simultaneously taking place outside the dominating set. Then what to do? Can we model that problem and try to evolve a new concept that will take care of multiple attacks at the same time? It's a practically important problem. See, now terrorists can simultaneously attack 3 different places. Okay? So how to deal with multiple attacks in the context of secure domination? That is what I am going to concentrate now. I have formulated a new definition. And one paper has been written by collaborators of mine. on algorithmic aspects. So what I am going to ask is, suppose k vertices are simultaneously attacked at the same time. What is a strategy to address or to defend all these k vertices? And what's the corresponding domination model to address this problem? So this is the question. Okay, so you have a graph and the dominating set is fixed where guards are posted and attack can take place at any vertex in V minus D. Suppose simultaneously k vertices are attacked. How to defend all the k vertices? K guards must move down and defend all the places simultaneously. How to mathematically model this problem? So this is my question. Okay, is the question clear? Fine. Okay. For this purpose, I am introducing a concept called K matching dominating set. So given a graph G, a connected graph, and a positive integer k which is less than or equal to n by 2, a subset is called a K matching dominating set. If for every subset of V minus D with cardinality k, there's a subset of D with again cardinality k, such that the set of edges with one end in S and other end in S1 has a perfect matching. So try to imagine you have D and V minus D. In V minus D, I choose a subset. Correspondingly, I take a subset in S. And in between these two subsets, there's a perfect matching. That means along the perfect matching, the guards can travel down. That is what I am imagining. So I call such a dominating set as K matching dominating set. When k equal to 1, it is a usual dominating set. Okay. Okay. So this number I call K matching domination number. Okay. Minimum cardinality of such a dominating set I call K matching domination number. Okay. I denote it by the symbol gamma Km. Okay. Now, what is the security concept? Go to domination. What is the security concept? How domination, from domination you go to secure domination. One guard moves down, then the new configuration is again a dominating set. That is D minus V union V1 is again a dominating set. Then it is called secure dominating set. So adopt the same strategy here. You take a K matching dominating set. Okay. Choose a subset of K vertices outside outside D, in V minus D. Correspondingly, you get a set of K vertices in the dominating set. Let the K guards come down simultaneously along the perfect matching. So my set D becomes D minus S union S1. Okay, S vertices go out, S vertices come in. The new set also I demand must be a K matching dominating set. Then such a set I call K secure dominating set. Okay, so a subset is a K secure dominating set if it is first of all a K matching dominating set. And for any subset of V minus D with cardinality k, there's a subset of D with cardinality k such that this portion has the perfect matching, and remove S1 and add S is again a K matching dominating set. So this I call K secure dominating set of the graph, and the minimum cardinality of K secure dominating set I call gamma Ks. So where one secure domination is a usual secure domination. This is a more practical problem. which addresses a simultaneous defending a network under simultaneous attack. And my collaborators in NIT Warangal took the case for k equal to 2 and they have developed an algorithmic aspects of that parameter. That is, for 2 secure domination, they have got some algorithmic results when it is NP complete, or which graphs it is polynomially solvable, and so on. So one paper has been written on 2 secure domination and algorithmic concepts, but theoretically it is wide open. It's an excellent topic for a very good PhD thesis. In fact, all the domination parameters which involves guard movement, for example, Roman domination, involves guard movement. And all those things are concentrating on one attack at a time. So my generalization can be taken over to many other domination parameters which involves guard movement, which involves dynamism in the dominating set. The dominating set keeps changing. Okay, the dominating set keeps changing by people moving in and moving out. So in all those cases, this concept of K secure, that securing under multiple tasks can be taken over. So it's again a big topic for research. So initially one can talk about K-matching domination. It's itself interesting topic. K-matching domination. See, it is a hereditary, it's a super hereditary property. So I can talk of minimal K-matching domination number and maximal K-matching domination number. Okay. Then go for independent K-matching dominating set or whatever it is. Okay. So this K-matching domination itself is a good topic for a thesis. And you combine it with the security concept. So gamma Km and gamma Ks and upper and lower. And what is the condition for minimality of K secure domination? It's a very big problem. See, even for secure dominating set, it is solved with great difficulty by cocaine. A secure dominating set is minimal if and only if cocaine got a result. We used it for upper secure domination. Okay, so we can go for upper K secure domination. So all these things are open. So the concept of K secure domination is a completely new area for research. Completely new area. I have a collaborator for this concept from Catholic University of America in Washington. Professor Kiran Bhutani is working with me on this topic. A research scholar can join us. It's an excellent research topic for a full-fledged PhD thesis. So this is the third topic that I have introduced. That is secure concept getting generalized for multiple attacks is the theme of the third topic. Okay. Not much progress has been done. It's good for a PhD scholar who has already completed coursework can enter into this topic very comfortably. Okay, fine. So this is the third topic which deals with K secure domination. K secure domination. Fine. So I have 4 parameters essentially. K secure domination and upper K secure domination, and K matching domination and upper K matching domination. And the possibility of introducing similar concepts for other types of dominations like Roman domination and things like that. So this is the third topic. Now we can spend a few minutes for discussion.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, what is the difference between the K matching and K secure?
K matching and?
K secure domination?
In the K matching, what you are demanding is for every subset of V minus D, there's a subset S1 such that in between there's a perfect matching. That's all. That is K matching domination, right?
Okay, sir.
For K secure, I am interchanging S and S1. Okay?
Okay, sir.
S goes out, S1 enters. Okay, S1 goes out, S enters. This new set also should be a K matching dominating set. So every K matching dominating set, every K secure dominating set is K matching dominating set, but not the converse.
Okay, sir.
Okay? So
Okay,
if
sir.
K secure, I am demanding that even after you replace the vertices, it continues to be K matching dominating set.
Okay, sir.
Is that clear?
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, one more doubt. Sir, what is the real life example for secure domination?
See, secure domination is, see, everywhere you see, if in a social network some vertex is disturbed, so someone has to go and safeguard that vertex.
Okay, sir.
So that is secure domination. It's the problem itself is application oriented problem, right?
Okay, sir. So social networking, it's applicable.
In any computer network or communication network, a terrorist attacks a network, how to safeguard it from attack?
Okay.
It's a fundamental problem.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
So,
What I am doing is, even for multiple attacks, you must be able to save. That is what I am demanding now.
oh, okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, so K secure domination also, at the time we replace the K vertices
Right.
from D.
Right.
Yes.
The resulting set is also a K matching dominating set.
Oh, okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Anyone else would like to ask some queries or doubts?
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, Jisha.
Sir, my name is Jisha.
Yeah.
Sir, is this K-secure dominating set is defined for path and cycles?
See, whenever K is less than or equal to n by 2, there is not a problem. As well, there must be matching of that size in that graph. The matching numbers should be greater than or equal to K. That is very essential.
Okay.
So you have to take K small to start with.
Okay.
Try for two matching or 3 matching. That will be ideal to start with.
Okay.
Don't go for general K straight away. See, what is the matching number in a graph? The maximum cardinality of a matching, right?
Yes.
That's the matching number or edge independence number. So it's essential that your K must be less than or equal to the edge independence number of the graph.
Okay.
That is first necessary condition. Right?
Yes.
Your K must be sufficiently small.
Okay.
Yeah, that's very important. So it is matching theory comes in a nice way. There's a rich matching theory that can be used. For example, see the Hall's theorem, all that may have come to help in analyzing this topic.
Okay.
It is closely connected with matching also. So in that sense, this topic may be very interesting. Yeah. So I suggest that initially we start with K equal to small, 2 or 3.
2 or 3.
Then we can try to generalize for more general case.
Okay. Sir.
That may be an ideal strategy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you take any a collection of graphs or a sequence of graphs and go for finding this 2 secure dominating set and 3, and then go for the generalization, right?
Right. You can even 2 secure domination is very interesting.
Okay.
So what is 2 secure domination of a path? That itself is very interesting. See, the secure domination of a path is 3n by 7. You know that. Okay, secure domination number of path is 3n by 7. For 2 secure domination, what is going to be the number? And that is interesting.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
So start with small values of k.
Okay.
You can write first paper, then go for bigger values.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Okay, sir. I think we can proceed now, and we will come back with the questions after the session.
Okay. So this is the third major topic which I have put. I'll stop with one more topic because I have 7 topics. For next lecture, I will go for. So this is my suggestion. For initially, you try for small values and compute the parameter for standard graphs, get sharp bounds, obtain conditions for minimality, and study relation for other parameters. This is how we can proceed on this topic. Okay. So what are your answer now? Right. Okay. So now I'm going to go to my 4th topic for today, where I have combined domination and coloring in a very nice way. Domination and coloring. Take a graph with chromatic number k. Take a k coloring of the graph. Take the color classes V1, V2, Vk. V1 all vertices receiving color 1, V2 color 2, and so on. So each Vi is an independent set because adjacent vertices are not going to see the same color. So a coloring is simply a partition of the vertex set into k independent sets. Acharya and Walikar observed that at least one color class can be made a dominating set. Take a k coloring of a graph. V1, V2, Vk. V1 is one color class, V2 is second color class, Vk is the kth color class. I claim that V1 can be made a dominating set. At least one color class can be made a dominating set. How? Take V1. If it is already a dominating set, no problem. Otherwise, what is happening? There is one vertex which is not dominated by V1. So it's not adjacent to any vertex in V1. It is sitting in some color class. Take it and bring it to the first color class. So if a vertex is not dominated by V1, pick that vertex, bring it to the first color class. Take this new coloring. Again ask, is the new V1 dominating set or not? If it is dominating set, my problem is solved. Otherwise, repeat. Bring the fellow which is not dominated and put it in the first color class. So keep on recoloring like this, and I can see to it that the first color class becomes a dominating set. Is that clear? So in any k coloring of a graph with chromatic number k, I can carefully color the vertices so that one color class is a dominating set. At least one color class is a dominating set. Independent dominating set. Okay. So I asked the question, what is the maximum number of color classes which can be made dominating sets in a k coloring, where the maximum is taken over all possible k colorings of the graph. Okay. The maximum is taken over all possible k colorings of the graph. What is the maximum number of color classes that can be made into dominating sets? Okay. I gave the number dominating color number because it is a color number. It is comes from chromatic number, and how many color classes are dominating. So I combined dominating color number. I denoted by the symbol d chi. So obviously from the definition, it lies between the chromatic number and 1. There are graphs where only one color class can be dominating. And there are graphs where all color classes can be dominating. This fundamental paper I published in collaboration with Haynes, Kenning, and Niguse in 2011 in the journal Discrete Mathematics. And some more papers came up later. And we have proved that even for dk equal to 1, the problem is NP complete. So we have given several classes of graphs where dk equal to 1 and several classes where dk equal to 1, but characterization remains open. For which graphs dk equal to 1, for which graphs dk equal to chi, that remains open. So this is a base paper published in 2011. Okay. Now for dk equal to 1, I give a simple example. You yourself can work it out now. Take K3 Corona K1. Okay, imagine K3 Corona K1. Put a triangle, put a pendant every vertex. Okay, put a pendant at every vertex. What's the chromatic number? 3. Just triangle is present. Chromatic number is 3. Dominance number is also 3. Okay? Chromatic number is 3. Dominance number is 3. Triangle with a pendant at every point. Okay, triangle with a pendant at every point. Dominance number is 3. Chromatic number is 3. So how many color classes you can make dominating set? You have 3 colors. For suppose you take first color class dominating set. So it will cover 3 vertices. You have only 3 more vertices and 2 colors. Therefore, only 1 color class can be made a dominating set. So it's an example of a graph with dk equal to 1. So you see K3 Corona K1 is a graph for which dk equal to 1. Complete graph is a case where dk equal to chi. Complete bipartite graph is the case where dk equal to chi. So there are graphs with dk equal to 1, graphs with dk equal to chi, and several other interesting things are there. So nicely combining domination and coloring. So 1 or 2 papers have come up, but still a lot of things are remaining. But the interesting thing is the edge version is completely unexplored and it is more challenging. So let me look at the edge version of the problem. Take a graph with, yes?
Sir, in the example of triangle Corona that you are telling, if I take a vertex of a triangle which is independent with another vertex of pendant vertex,
right,
I can have 3 color partitions in which
but
each
that is
becomes
not a
a dominant
dominating set. The chromatic number is 3.
Correct.
How many color classes are dominating sets is the problem.
Okay. That means there exist graphs possibly with a every color class not a dominating set.
Right. This is an example.
So then we are going to make at least one of them a dominating set. That is
It's always possible.
Okay.
One of them can be always made a dominating set.
That is the study actually.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What is the maximum number of color classes you can make a dominating set? That is the topic of the subject.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
So for the corona of K3, dk is 1. Only 1 color class can be made dominating set. Is that clear? Okay. Now, the real challenge is the edge version. Take a graph with edge chromatic number k. So now every color class is a matching. Okay, every color class is a matching. A maximal matching is going to be an edge dominating set. So how many color classes can be maximal matchings? Okay. Now you see a famous Weissing's theorem where that chromatic number is either delta or delta plus 1. They're called class 1 graphs and class 2 graphs. Okay. So you can take class 1 graph and try to solve what is dk dash. Or take a class 2 graph, try to solve what is dk dash. Okay. So my screen is not moving. Okay. So you see, we are going to the edge pattern. So here you see we have combination of 3 different areas of graph theory. Coloring comes, matching comes, domination comes. All are rich theory. Matching as a rich theory. Plummer has good book on matching. Edge domination as a rich theory. And coloring also has a rich theory. So all the 3 things are going to play a big role. Okay, fine. Now, the edge version in most cases behaves differently from the vertex version. Even take the ordinary domination number, you see that the difference between the independent domination number and domination number can be made arbitrarily large. Because you take, for example, the complete bipartite graph K R comma S, where R and S are very large. Gamma is only 2, but I is minimum of R and S. So which shows that the difference between independent domination number and domination number can be arbitrarily large. But you see, for any graph, edge independence number and edge domination number are equal. For any graph, gamma dash equal to I dash, gamma dash. I dash equal to gamma dash. Why? Because it is actually I dash is simply I of a line graph. Gamma dash is gamma of line graph. Line graph is K133. Beinecke's famous forbidden subgraph characterization says line graph is K133. For a K133 graph, Allen and Lasker have proved that domination number and independent domination number are equal. And therefore it follows that for line graph, domination number and independent domination number are equal. Therefore, gamma dash and I dash are equal. So you see that in the line version, I dash and gamma dash are always equal. For the vertex version, the difference can be arbitrarily large. So you see that the vertex version and the edge version of a parameter in most cases are behaving in a completely different way. That is why I believe that the edge version of dk dash is a very challenging research topic, where one has to be familiar with domination theory, matching theory, and edge coloring theory. All the 3 theories are very large, very big. Okay? So it's a beautiful combination of edge coloring, matching, and edge domination. So one needs a mature student with good background to enter into this topic. Possibly seniors can take it up. Seniors can take it up with a good, intelligent junior collaborator. It's a completely unexplored area, okay? Completely unexplored, and combines various concepts in a very elegant way, fundamental way. So this is my 4th deep topic for research, combining domination and coloring. Okay, a very deep concept, combining domination and coloring in the edge version. Okay, so this is the very interesting 4th big topic that I have proposed. So all the 4 topics that I have given so far are not simply one problem. All of them are extremely suitable for one or more PhD theses on each of them. That is my contention. So now we can discuss on this and then have a discussion on all the topics, no problem. So this challenging topic one can look at now. We can ask simple questions, like for example, take a complete graph. What is this parameter? Chi dash. Take a one-factorable graph. What's a one-factorable graph? Edge set can be partitioned into perfect matching. That's a very comfortable case for this problem. So it deals with factorization. Okay? Some factorization will come to help. questions? Yeah.
Sir, Priyanka and Krishna have raised hands, so I will just give the chance first to Priyanka and then to Krishna. You
Okay.
can,
Okay. Okay.
yeah, Priyanka, you can have the, you can clear the doubts now. Priyanka. Yeah, Niranjan also is there. Priyanka, are you there? Sir, a request has come to send the PPT, sir.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
That will be given. It's not a problem.
Yeah. Priyanka, are you asking some doubts now? Okay, then we will move on to Niranjan. Niranjan?
Yes.
Yeah,
so
okay,
can you hear
Niranjan.
me?
Go on.
Sir, so when you consider like graphs or the decay of G number, wouldn't that be bounded by the minimum degree in some way?
See, it's bounded by chi.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Chi is bounded by degrees.
Yes, sir.
That's not a bound. Bound is not a problem. It lies between 1 and chi. That itself is very strong information.
Okay, sir.
It lies between 1 and the chromatic number.
Okay, sir.
It can be anything in between. I can easily manipulate.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
So one more doubt I had was that for the complete graph, is from what I've done a little bit scribbling, like is it minimum degree plus 1 or something like that? Because
yes, for complete graph, chi is n, delta plus 1.
Okay.
Minimum or maximum, whatever it is. It's a regular graph. For complete graph, dk equal to n.
Okay, sir.
Every class is a dominating set. Dk equal to gamma equal to chi equal to n. Dk and chi are both equal to n.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Priyanka, are you asking now?
Niranjan, are you from Kendriya Vidyalaya?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay. That's fine.
We will discuss outside this later.
Okay, sir.
Okay, fine. Very good.
So one more has raised hands. You can ask the queries now. Yeah. Anyone else? Okay, sir. I think we can proceed, sir. I think now.
Okay. So then I will put one more topic. Keep the remaining 2 topics for tomorrow talk. Okay.
Okay, sir.
I can introduce one more topic. That's not a problem. That's a nice topic. This I won't take tomorrow. Yes. See, let us go to digraphs. Domination graph is well studied. Domination graph is well studied. But domination in directed graphs, there is not much progress. Initially, domination in directed graphs got motivated from the concept of kernel. Kernel is something like independent and dominating. Because of its applications to game theory and related areas, domination in directed graphs were initially around the concept of kernel. And in the book on advanced topics, in another thing, Hedetnami, Gosel, Lasker, and Pilon have given a brief survey of how the concept of kernels is going on around domination in directed graphs. Okay. Shortened later introduced a new definition of domination in directed graphs in 2003. It's with Shorten, Tankelman, Souls, and Swart, big authors. They proposed a new concept of domination in directed graphs called twin domination, published in 2003. Okay, what is twin domination? Take a directed graph and take a subset of the vertex set. It's a twin dominating set. If for every vertex outside the S and D are confusing. Okay. every vertex outside S, there are two vertices in S, such that V1 is a in neighbor for one thing and out neighbor for the other thing. That's one arc comes from V1 to V, other arc goes the other way. So VV1 and V2V are arcs. It's dominated both in and out. That's why they call twin domination. So for every vertex in V minus S, there are two vertices in S such that one is an in neighbor of V, the other is the out neighbor of V. They can be equal. V1 and V2 can be equal. If symmetric arcs are present, they can be equal. The minimum cardinality of a twin dominating set is called the twin domination number of the graph, and is denoted by the symbol gamma T, but that notation is confusing. It also, we are using it for total domination, but we can make it as TW or something. It's a twin domination number of a directed graph. Okay. Why it is interesting is it includes domination in graphs as a special case. Because take any graph G, replace every vertex by a pair of symmetric arcs. Replace every edge by a pair of symmetric arcs. Then what is gamma T of that graph G star, directed graph G star? For the directed graph G star, what is the twin domination number? So question clear. I take any graph G, replace each edge by a pair of symmetric arcs. Edge UV is replaced by arc UV and arc VU. Okay, replace every edge by a pair of symmetric arcs. I get a directed graph G star. What's the twin domination number of this directed graph G star?
It is the domination number of underlying graph.
It's domination number of the underlying graph. So you see that the twin domination includes domination in graphs as a special case. See, what a big advantage. The concept of twin domination in directed graphs gives domination in graphs as a special case. Therefore, whenever you get a nice result in twin domination, you will get a corollary for the ordinary domination. Okay, therefore it's a very rich theory. Very rich theory. That's what I have said. If you take the G star obtained by each UV replaced by a symmetric pair of arcs, then the twin domination number of G star is simply the domination number of G. So the concept of twin domination in directed graphs includes domination in graphs as a special case. So you can take any theorem in domination and see how to carry it for the twin domination. So there's a vast potential for further research. Somehow it has not attracted the attention, though it has been introduced in 2003 by Sharton, Tankelman, Schulz, and Schwartz. Not many papers have come on twin domination in directed graphs. I believe that this is a huge potential research topic for domination in directed graphs. Because domination graphs is well studied, whereas directed graphs, this is one nice definition. People have talked about in domination and out domination. In fact, one of my students did on in domination and out domination. Long back. So we have in domination, out domination, and twin domination. And twin domination includes domination as a special case. Okay. So this is a very elegant topic for a doctoral thesis. One has to read a lot of directed graphs and collect good collection of directed graphs. You can go to the book on directed graphs and then develop the basic theory, like deep bounds, minimum condition for minimality, and things like that. Domination chain for directed graphs, twin domination, all whatever you have in domination, try to carry out in a systematic way. So this is the fifth topic I have given for people to look at. Okay. Twin domination is a very beautiful concept introduced by great mathematicians and waiting for attention by young researchers. That's how I put that. So now I'll complete with these 5 topics for this session. We can go for a discussion on any of these things. You?
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, in twin domination, if a graph was edge has in only one direction, goes only one direction, all the vertices are dominated.
You see, always whole set is a dominating set. That's not a problem.
Okay, sir.
Even in domination, you see, if you have completely totally disconnected graph, you have to take all the vertices.
Okay, sir.
So that is not an issue. The whole set is always there. We can ask a question for which graph twin domination number is equal to n. That is interesting. For which graph twin domination number is equal to n?
Okay, sir.
Can you give a quick answer? I don't know.
No, sir. No, sir. Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyone else?
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning.
Yeah, yes. Muthukani, yeah, you can proceed.
Yeah, I am Muthukani, Dr. Muthukani Vairavel.
Yeah.
Sir, is there any possible twin domination can relate with the connected domination?
Twin domination related to connected domination? You mean twin domination is for directed graphs? Okay. In directed graphs, there are 3 types of connectedness. Underlying graph is connected, unilaterally connected, strongly connected. So we can look at it later. Strongly connected twin domination or things like that can be taken later. Even the fundamental twin domination itself is challenging. Yeah? If you want to combine with connectedness, then there are 3 types of connectedness in. You can say underlying graph is connected. One can look at.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else has any other queries or suggestions or any discussions you want? Yeah, Priyanka, you can go on. Priyanka and Binsi Joseph have raised their hands. So first, I'll give chance to Priyanka because she has been raising the hands earlier also. Priyanka, you can go on. Can you switch on the mic? I think some issue with Priyanka's network. Priyanka, can you hear me? Okay, Priyanka. Okay, then I'll give chance to Binsi now and we will return to Priyanka later. Binsi, you can move on.
Morning, sir.
Morning.
Sir, can you please explain the idea of gamma free set once again?
Every?
Gamma free set. Second problem.
My question is not clear to me. Can you repeat your question?
I think she wants to explain the gamma free set. Is it that, Binsi?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Gamma free set. Can you explain? That's what she asked.
Okay. Let me go back. Okay. Take a connected graph. Take a subset of the vertex set. Okay. S is called a gamma free set if there exists a gamma set D whose intersection with S is empty. That is that S is free from a gamma set. Okay. The set you have taken is free from a gamma set. For example, take a star. Okay, take a star. Take a pendant vertex. Does it lie in a gamma set? Okay, take a star. Look at the pendant vertex. K1, n. N is large. Is the pendant vertex in a gamma set? No, because only center is the gamma set.
So by gamma set, you mean the dominating set, isn't that?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Dominating set.
Yeah, Binsi, so I think it's clear.
So any pendant vertex is a gamma free set. Any subset of the pendant vertex is a gamma free set.
Okay.
Whereas in complete graph, no set is gamma free. Right?
Okay.
In a complete graph, no set is gamma free.
Okay,
In a complete bipartite graph with more than two vertices in each part, no set is gamma free. Is that clear?
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Take a complete bipartite graph K R, S, where R and S are greater than or equal to 2. What is gamma?
Minimum.
2.
Yeah.
One vertex from another vertex from the other side.
Correct.
Okay, that's a gamma set. So no vertex is gamma free. No set is gamma free. So there are graphs where no set is gamma free.
Okay.
Yeah. So gamma free number will be 0. So this parameter can take the number 0 also. Yeah.
So Gajavalli, you can ask your doubts. Gajavalli.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, you can go on.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, yeah.
Sir, can we relate a geodetic number of a graph and a domination number of a graph, sir? Can we?
What is the definition of geodetic number?
Sir, let G be a connected graph with vertex at V and a subset S of V such that the geodesics between any pair of vertices in S covers all the vertices of the graph.
In the set. So every vertex lies on a shortest path.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Every vertex in the graph lies on a shortest UV path from the set UV, from the set S.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's a geodetic set.
Yes, sir. So minimum.
Okay. What is your question now?
Sir, can we relate geodetic number and domination number?
No, under what conditions your geodetic graph is a dominating set? That's the first question. Under what conditions your geodetic graph, your geodetic set is a dominating set?
Okay.
There may not be any connection. I don't know.
Okay, sir. I will.
Or if you want a set which is both dominating and geodetic set.
Okay, sir.
Then you can call it geodetic domination number, but it may be very artificial. I don't know that it will give deep results.
Okay, okay, sir.
Yeah.
Amal, you can move.
Thank you, sir.
Amal, you can ask the questions.
So is it complete graph Kn? Is a gamma free graph?
Every vertex is gamma free.
Yeah.
So gamma free number is 0.
Gamma free number is 0. Okay, sir.
No, totally gamma free number is 0. Gamma free number is 1.
For complete graph Kn?
Yes.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, you asked for a graph where twin domination number is n.
Yes.
If you take a star such that all the edges are going outside from the center,
Right.
will that be like twin domination number n?
It is n. Perfect. It has twin domination number n. Because for a twin domination number to exist, at least one vertex must have both positive and in degree and out degree.
Okay, sir.
See, at least one vertex should have both positive in degree and out degree. Only then that can dominate something. So that's a necessary condition.
So one more question I had on secure domination. Like you said, like what if k vertices are attacked simultaneously?
Right.
So then whatever set we are constructing, does it depend on the set which is going to be attacked?
See, we have to divide a strategy where to put the guards. I am putting the guards in a dominating set with additional properties.
Yes, sir.
So my strategy is to choose a set D such that the soldiers in that set can simultaneously defend k attacks.
Okay, sir. Any k attacks in V minus S?
Yes, attacks takes place only in V minus S. They assume that attacks does not take place in a place where guard is already present.
Okay, sir.
Okay. That is the fundamentally accepted nomenclature. Okay.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Binsi, you want to ask something now? Binsi?
No.
No, okay. I think you missed. You have raised a hand, so that's why I just asked. Anyone else? If there are no further suggestions or queries from the participant side, shall we wind up the session, sir? Armugam, sir, anything else to add, sir? Yeah, Shabari. I think Shabari Manju. Shabari Manju, do you want to ask something?
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I have a doubt regarding a gamma free set, sir. It's a free from domination set. It's a subset of the vertex set and free from the domination set, isn't it, sir?
No, it is only any subset. S is a subset of V, that's all.
Subset, it is free from domination.
It is called a gamma free set. If at least one gamma set is disjoint from S, that's all.
Then what is the purpose of finding this subset, sir?
That's what I told you. This is going to play a very big role in solving deep unsolved problems, like the Queen's problem.
Okay.
See, the Queen's problem, which I have said here, how to prove this problem? Suppose you prove that S is a gamma free set. The new vertices is a gamma free set. Okay. For that, this problem will get solved. That's what I said here. You see, you take the new vertices. If that set is gamma free, if you are able to prove that that set is gamma free, then that 150-year-old problem is getting solved. So, studying gamma free sets is a very important problem on its own. Proving that set is gamma free, obtaining necessary and sufficient condition, all that is very interesting. Yes, that will serve as a tool for solving deep and long outstanding unsolved problems. That's why I'm interested in this concept.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I have one more doubt, sir.
Yeah.
Regarding secure domination. It works for a discrete parameter like semi-total domination.
Yes.
Two domination, like it works for a distance-related domination.
See, here distance doesn't play a role because here attack is defended only from an adjacent vertex.
Okay, sir.
If you allow a guard to travel more distance, then defending is more difficult, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, defending is more difficult. So let us not bring in distance for secure domination. It may not be practically interesting.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Manjunath, I think he has some questions. Manjunath, do you want to ask something? Manjunath. Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else to share something? Any other queries or suggestions?
Ma'am, can I say the vote of thanks?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
1 minute. I'll just conclude and I'll giving chance to you. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. So as it was promised by Arumugam sir, anything else you want to add, sir, or we'll continue in the tomorrow session?
So the remaining 2 topics each will take half an hour.
Yeah. Okay, sir. So I think we can wind it up now. Is it right?
Okay, fine.
Okay. So as Arumugam sir was promised and as expected always, we do have a handful of problems with you now. Participants, you can make use of it and come up with theses or publications or whatever it is you want. It is up to you because sir has already given 5 out of 7 and 2 more are on the queue. So wish you all the best. And now it's over to you, Jisha.
Thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon, all. My name is Jisha Saraswati, Research Scholar of NSS Hindu College, Changanasheri. I feel immense pleasure to take this opportunity to propose a vote of thanks from the participants' side to our eminent speaker, Dr. S. Arumugam, Adjunct Professor, Department of Mathematics, Amrita Vishwavidyapeetham, Coimbatore, who spared time from his busy schedule to grace this webinar with extremely relevant topic and some new research directions in domination in graphs, in which he talked about different parameters of domination in graphs, especially K-secure domination number, which itself opens way for a good research. Thank you so much for a wonderful session, sir. My deep sense of appreciation and thanks to all participants who chose to be live with us and attended the class with great enthusiasm. Once again, thank you all.
With that, I think we can wind up the session. Thank you, our dear speaker and Savitha Miss for chairing the session. Yes, over to you, Bernie.
Thank you all for being here. Do remember to log in to next session on time. Next session will be at 3 p.m. Thank you.